or even we talk about conferences. You may have to pay at a conference, District 50 Toastmasters conference, any conference. And of course, you want the body to vote on it to get their approval of that. And so that can be a process as well. You may have someone that's going to the convention, and that's going to cost money. Take airfare, hotel, all those types of things. And so the body may say, a person may say, I move that we.
Welcome to D50 After Dark. I'm your host, Mickey Bennett, and today we again will be talking to Walter the Encourager Price, and we're going to talk about Robert's Rules of Order and look at some very specific ways in which we can use Robert's Rules of Order in a Toastmasters setting. It's going to be a great episode. Welcome to D50 After Dark. I'm your host, Mickey Bennett, and welcome back, Walter the Encourager Price.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
So, we've talked a lot about Robert's Rules of Order. We got into the specifics. And for those of you who haven't seen the previous two conversations with Walter, I highly encourage you go back, you listen to those, especially the previous episode where we talked about the specifics of Robert's Rules of Order, because in today's episode, we're going to take a look at a couple use cases for Robert's Rules of Order. Now, before we do that, we did, just to kind of set the context, we did a role play, and we're going to play a recording of that for our audience. And in this role play, we have a Toastmasters club. We have members in the club, and they're going to be doing some business. I think the one we're going to do is voting in a new member.
Okay.
So this is a case where a club should use Robert's Rules of Order to formally vote in new members.
Yeah. Yes. And I know that some clubs don't do that, and they're just happy to get members, like any organization. I'm just happy to get 12 more new members. But as you know, those have been in Toastmasters for a long period of time, that you want to vote them in, so if something happens at the end, they get foolish, they get beside themselves, they get big-headed, you may have to vote them out.
Sure.
And so you want to make sure they go hand in hand. If you vote them in, you're able to vote them out as well. Hopefully you don't have to do that, but yes, that's the process of that.
And as someone who's been vice president of membership several times in the past, I love the new member induction. The formality of bringing in a new member, I think really sets the context for both the new member. Wow, I'm officially joining this organization. They're voting me in. This is important.
Yes.
And it also sets the context for all the other members. Like, we have taken responsibility for bringing this person into our club and turning them into a Toastmaster.
Yes. And it shows that we're organized. And that's probably the most important thing, that now we have you, you're part of our team, and we just love to have new members. And you're one of those individuals, and they get that packet, they get the little mini certificate, if you do a mini certificate, and they feel a part of the whole process. And same thing about Robert's Rules of Order is that when a person is coached through that, the small coaching of how to run meetings, I think members just they feel empowered. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm a strong advocate of having your meetings by Robert's Rules of Order. And I know this scenario that we did, voting that member in, individuals, it may be more than one person. Even when we talk about officers, maybe more than one person running for that office. And so everyone wants to make sure that it was done fairly through that process. And so that's Robert's Rules of Order comes in as well.
So in this role play, the way we do it in my club is we have the VP of membership ask the prospective member some questions, and then we have the Sergeant of Arms escort them out of the room, and then we engage in discussion and voting similar to what you'll see in this role play. So let's go ahead and watch this role play.
All right, we're coming down to another new business, and that is our new member acceptance. And we have one, I believe, here on the agenda, and that is Amy. And as you know, the Sergeant at Arms just took her out the room. And Mickey, I know on the agenda it has you down. So is there a motion on the floor to accept Amy? Yes, Mickey.
Yes, I move that we induct Amy into our club today.
Yes.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept Amy into the club, Robert's Rules of Order Club. Any more discussion? Any discussion? Yes.
Yeah. So Amy's been a guest to our club 3 times now, and she's always been a positive addition to our meetings. Today, her table topic was very clear and interesting when she responded to the table topics question. And when we asked her if why she wanted to join our club, she said that uh, she seemed very enthusiastic about our club, and she promised to attend at least 3 times per month. So I think she's going to be a great addition to our club.
Okay. Any more discussion? Yes. Albert.
I hear you, Mickey, and yes, I absolutely agree to what you just said about her Toastmasters speech and her enthusiasm. But just to let you all know, I have met her a couple of times in different organizations, and apparently she gets too many things in her plate, and it gets difficult for her to follow through. So I'm not sure adding one more club, seeing her past behavior, how will it backing out again and again? How will it help us to be more organized? So I'm a little bit concerned about her getting in jeopardy every time she will back up from a role.
All right. Any more discussion? Yes. Helen.
I feel like that's a valid comment that Alpha has made, but as a Toastmasters organization, I think we can be aware of that and guide her to a better version of herself. If this is one of her leadership elements she needs to learn, then we will help her and support her in doing that without being obvious about it, obviously. But I think this is the place to help people to get over those problems that they have.
Any more discussion? Yes, go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I think Alpha, I'm surprised to hear that about Amy, and I think that's a valid concern. But I think, as Helen indicates, follow through is an aspect of leadership that needs to be learned, and that's what we're all here for in Toastmasters is to learn. So this is maybe Amy's opportunity for growth as a leader. If Amy's open to it, I would be happy to be her mentor in the club, and I can work with her on communicating expectations and communicating commitments and making sure that she understands the impact her actions have as a leader within the club. Because every member is a leader in their own way. I can help mentor her along in that particular element of her Toastmasters journey. Would that help address your concerns?
Yes, Albert.
Yes, it does. And I totally agree. This is a safe place for us to make mistakes and learn from it. So if she's willing to, if we can have some kind of verbal acknowledgement from her, knowing that, yes, responsibility is important here, I think I should have no problem having her as a part of our group.
Yes.
I call for vote.
Okay, the previous question has been called. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, the question has been called and the second to end debate. End debate. That's what we're voting on. Those in favor of ending debate signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. And we will go to the motion and vote on the motion. Those in favor of Amy being a member of our club signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Raise your hand. The ayes have it, and Amy is now a member of our club.
Okay, well, that was a lot of fun doing that role play,
was.
and I think it gives a good example of how this actually works in a Toastmasters meeting. I have a few questions about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
First of all, everybody was raising their hand and waiting for you to call on them
Mhm.
before speaking. Is
Mhm.
is is that how it works? Is that
Yes,
necessary?
yes, that's necessary because again, we talk about order. It's called Robert's Rules of Order, because everyone can talk at once.
Mhm.
And so my goal is, and if it's a big organization, I may have the secretary of the club identify in order of who raised hand first, who raised second, because you can even have conflict. A person say, "I raised my hand up first, you didn't see." So it's good to have the secretary or someone to identify that. But once I get that first person raise their hand, they can discuss it. Again, we usually the individuals that made the motion. So it would be you because you made that nomination of her being a member.
Mhm.
So I will let you go first and
Mhm.
get your justification of why we should have her as a member. And then secondly, after that, I would go to the next person. You want to have a balance. So if you're positive, saying, I want this person, I like to go to the person that says, well, maybe not. We don't want this. And I like that balance back and forth. And so that person, you saying yes, the other person says no, the other person saying yes, and go back and forth. And we try to make sure we try to get all those who want to speak before we get the individuals that have just spoken, because we want to make sure we get all those individuals too.
Yeah, and the uh in the role play we just saw,
Hmm.
so I imagine in some cases you have people give each side and they're trying to convince other people to take their side of the motion. But
Hmm.
what we actually saw in this role play is the differences were resolved and
Hmm.
everybody ended up agreeing in the end. Is that also common?
Right, and that's part of the discussion because the person say, "Well, I thought this, but getting further information now, I withdraw what I've said, or I now agree that I'm going to vote for that person,
Yeah.
or not vote for that person." So that's more point of information. They're getting more information on an issue or a person, and so that's going to help them make their decision as well.
I feel in the votes I've seen in Toastmasters over my 12 years of
Hmm.
Toastmasters, it ends up almost always being a unanimous vote.
Hmm.
And I think a big part of that is a well-run discussion
Hmm.
like we see in this
Hmm.
role play.
That's true. That's true. Because you want to get all the information out because we don't know the person or members may not know the person. So it's your job as the advocate bringing that person forward to get all the information on the table. This person's like this. This person's going to help us in this way. This person's organized. So you bringing all that information to the body, and then the body is now taking in that information and trying to make a educated vote on that person.
Now, in the scenario we just saw, one thing that stood out to me, and I think you mentioned this in our previous conversation, we actually voted twice.
Hmm.
Jerry said he wants to call for an end of discussion,
Right.
and so we all voted on whether or not we were going to vote,
Right.
and then we voted.
Right, right. And that's called a previous question. So what that simply means, ending debate. Simply what he's saying is, I want to end debate. And he was recognized. So when I recognized him, that came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So now the previous question has been called. And then of course we have to vote on that previous question whether or not we want to end debate. And so I go through the process of announcing what has happened and then ending debate. And the members can say through their vote, no, we don't want to end debate,
Yeah.
or yes, we want to end debate.
Yeah.
And so from that, say that they said, which they did, we want to end debate. And then now we go to the vote.
Yeah. I think at that point it was clear that the differences had been resolved. But
Yes.
if they had not,
People want
the
further discussion.
yeah.
They don't have enough information.
Yep.
So they're saying that I want to continue this discussion. And some people may want to speak on that. And they didn't get a chance to speak on it because Jerry called the previous question too soon.
Hmm.
And so now they're gonna they're gonna vote down that ending debate. And then now we're going to continue discussion if it would have gone that way.
One more observation I had about the scenario we just watched, and then I want to talk about a few more use cases
Mhm.
for Robert's Rules of Order. I noticed that you did not participate in the voting yourself.
That's right. That's right. I'm the facilitator. I'm presiding officer.
Yeah.
So I'm just guiding the meeting.
Yeah.
Now, in some cases, if there is a tie,
Yeah.
then I can be that vote for the tie.
Yeah.
But in that case, we didn't have that, and so therefore, I'm presiding and I'm making sure that everything is done correctly.
Yeah, and putting on a neutral
Neutral. That's most
leadership
important.
role.
That's most important that I'm neutral. I don't want anyone to say, "Well, you was leaning toward over there to the fair." Yes, people, or no, you was over there. You didn't want this, and so I don't want anyone to ever say that I served as presiding officer and then I swayed the vote.
And
I was unfair.
that reminds me of the role of a vote counter.
Mhm.
Vote counter doesn't vote for the best speaker
Mhm.
unless there's a tie. And if that happens, they don't mention that they had to vote
Right.
to keep themselves that appearance of neutrality.
Right. Judge as well when you're in contests.
Yeah.
The judge the same way, and so it can, even though you have that, that hidden judge,
Yeah.
you don't know which way is gone. But yes, you're right. That's a good analogy of how that goes.
Yeah.
But you're going to say it verbally. Susie May is now a member,
Mhm.
or Amy in this case is a member now, and then we take Amy away. But by you saying that you're going to help coach her and do all those things, I think that persuaded the others to say yes, we're going to have her as a member.
So this is one really good example of parliamentary procedure in a Toastmasters setting. What are some other things that our listeners can do to use Robert's Rules of Order in their club?
Of course, budgets, many organizations, even around this time, be putting forth their budget, what they want to have. That has to be voted on by the body as well.
So the treasurer can present a proposed budget for the next year.
Yes, usually the treasurer and the president or the district director, they're working hand in hand,
Mhm.
those officers hand in hand to put a budget together so they can present it to the body. So yes, it can be through that process, Robert's Rules of Order, to making sure that budget is approved. You can do it for leadership institutes as well, Toastmaster leadership institutes, whether or not we're going to go or not go, whether or not we're going to pay our money, or even we talk about conferences.
Mhm.
You may have to pay at a conference, District 50 Toastmasters conference, any conference. And of course, you want the body to vote on it to get their approval of that. And so that can be a process as well. You may have someone that's going to the convention, and that's going to cost money. Take airfare, hotel, all those types of things. And so the body may say, a person may say, I move that we provide Mickey uh, a, a free trip to the convention,
Yeah.
and then
I like the sound of that.
and then that he will come back and give us a report when it's over.
But Robert's Rules of Order would allow us to ensure that we had the buy-in from the whole club
Yes.
before doing such a thing.
That's that voice we talked about. Everybody has a voice.
Yeah. And I think another example is officer elections.
Yes, officer elections is one of those things, nominating those officers. And so there's a process of that as well. Because as you know, that there are some individuals that you may have more than one person running for that office, with
Mhm.
office of president, office of vice president, or treasurer. And so should be a process of that, of nominating them as well as for voting them in as well.
And so I've seen in officer elections, it's common for there's maybe only one person running for an office, and the person presiding over the election will call 3 times for nominations for
Mhm.
anybody else to run.
Yes.
And if nobody steps forward and it's only one person, they instruct the secretary to mark just one vote down in the record
Mhm.
for the only person who ran.
Cast one vote.
Those are all elements of Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes. Cast one vote for that person.
Yeah.
And again, those bylaws supersede, they would supersede Robert's Rules of Order. So if you have something else in your bylaws, then that will supersede that. But yes, especially large organizations will do that as well.
Very cool. Well, this was very fun doing the role play and the scenario and
It was.
and really seeing how it's used. And I just kind of one final thought about this. Some people may think, you know, this is too much formality for their club, or it's too time consuming. And I would offer people to think of it in this way. Toastmasters is a place that we learn so many skills to use out in our business, in our churches, in our organizations. And if we cut out Robert's Rules of Order from our Toastmasters club, we're missing a very, very amazing opportunity to develop a skill that's going to be very rewarding to have in these other environments.
Definitely so. As I talked about earlier, I'm a strong advocate of every officer, every leader should know how to carry a motion forward. And you should know how to use Robert's Rules of Order. Every officer, every chairperson should know how to do that. And then secondly, that just think of your meetings being long and tedious because there's no order. That's the other alternative of it. And so you want to have orderly meetings. You want to have timely meetings. And that is one of the reasons why you utilize Robert's Rules of Order, because of that. And you want to be heard. You want them to be timely, orderly, and you want to be heard. And so this helps that whole process of using Robert's Rules of Order. Not intense, but just the basics of it.
Well, Walter, I almost called you Robert just now.
I'm not that old. Not that old.
Walter, this kind of concludes our discussion of Robert's Rules of Order and parliamentary procedure. It's been so enlightening to talk to you about this, and I really appreciate it too. But I want to have one more conversation with you next episode about Toastmasters in an educational setting like a college or a university. So I'll see you again soon.
Sure, thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thank you for tuning in for our final discussion on Robert's Rules of Order, at least for now. I hope it's been educational for you, and stay tuned for our next and last conversation with Walter, the Encourager Price.